There are only 2 days left until this book releases. Uh, we should almost be counting down hours now, not days. 48 hours or 56, depending which time zone you're in. I don't know. Time zones are hard. Uh, Over the last 8 days, we've shared a few insights into what led to this book. I've shared a little bit about Nadim, whose story is also woven in throughout this book. And now we're nearing the end of the tale, the part where I actually write the book. Uh, there's a saying in photography, which many of you know, photography is, my first passion. There's a saying that if you want to take more interesting photos, you have to stand in front of more interesting things. And now I acknowledge that's not universally true. You can take very beautiful photos of very mundane things. But there is a parallel to this story. So on the face of it, any experience that happens within a disaster zone is going to be quite interesting to many people. But like in photography, where you can stand in front of an interesting thing, let's say you're standing in front of a beautiful iceberg, but you make the horizon line just a little bit crooked, that's going to take away from the beauty and the impact of the photo, because your eye is not going to be able to see anything but that crooked horizon line. Similarly, in the book, you can have a very engaging, interesting event, but if it's written poorly, it will be distracting and not as enjoyable. You won't be able to immerse in it as much. And I was very, very aware of that as I was starting out on this journey, because I had very little experience. I had kind of started writing it chronologically. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it was feeling a lot more like journalism than memoir. It was feeling a little bit dry and not engaging. It was missing the storytelling element that would, help you keep wanting to turn pages. And so I thought I need a little bit of training in this. So I looked for courses on writing nonfiction, specifically writing memoir. And I found a few and they were okay, but there was one in particular that was a series of lectures. It was just an audio book of a series of lectures on writing memoir. And that was the turning point, I'll say. It blew the doors off the barn. The instructor talked about so much about how options you have for structuring a memoir, establishing the timeline, moving around on the timeline, through different points of view, using memories and reflections to really, from before the event happened and after, to really flesh out the meaning of different events and why they're important to the story. Using different points of view, I think I mentioned choosing whether you're going to use dialogue or you're not going to use dialogue. The presence of a narrator, even when you're writing in the first person, to kind of ask those universal questions that you want the reader to be thinking about. There were just so many eye-popping revelations about how much freedom I actually had as I was writing this, and that was when I really started to pick up steam and get really excited about what was possible. I also, during that time, read dozens of books about writing, and each one has one or two things that it's like, oh my goodness, that really resonates, and you start using it immediately, and then you start going back into the sections that you've already written and using those principles in your edits as you go. During that time, as I was mentioning yesterday, we were still new to the city, and so I was looking to meet people as well. And as I was looking for groups on Meetup to meet people, one of the groups that came up was a group called Porto Writes, and it's a series of different in-person writing sessions here in Porto for people who want a little bit of community around their writing. And joining that was the best thing I've done, because honestly, it's so inspiring to go and hear what other people are working on. There are people who are working on poetry, novels, memoir, fiction, nonfiction, screenplays, computer games, board games. They're working on such a range of things, and it's so much fun to hear what they're doing as well. There's really experienced writers in that group who are generous with their time, their feedback, who will read a draft for you. It was just such a great experience. And in fact, some of the people I have met in that group are joining me on April 19th for a live stream event to celebrate the launch of this book. During the live stream, I'll read a short portion of the book, and some of the folks from the writing group will ask some questions to start some discussion about the book. So we're really excited about that, and we're hoping that you'll join us for that. There'll be a link below in the description. So in addition to writing the book, there was everything related to getting the book published that I also needed to learn. And I'll share a bit more about that journey in tomorrow's session. And tomorrow's session is the last one before the book goes on sale. And we have the live stream event on April 19th, so I hope you'll join us.